back to the Two Regular Guys.
Two regular guys hanging out.
Yeah, Two Regular Guys hanging out again, episode 4.
Dude, this is nice.
Yeah, come on now.
Dude, if we were Star Wars, we'd be into the good episodes, you know what I mean?
yeah. A New Hope.
That's right.
This one, and this episode may give you a new hope.
Maybe. We talking a little bit about hope.
Yeah,
right?
yeah.
Not really. Well, yeah.
We're talking about,
We kind of always talk about hope.
we're titling it Everything All at Once.
Everything all at once. That's right. Yeah.
And wanted to, well, for those who are listening for the first time, I'm Andrew Ramon.
Oh, yeah. Matt Kavanaugh.
Yep. We are your
Welcome.
host. Matt is the always guest, but always host as well. And eventually we'll have guests,
Sure.
different guests.
And my wife is Alicia Kavanaugh, and Andrew.
Yep.
His wife is
Justine
Ramon.
not
Yeah.
Kavanaugh.
Not Kavanaugh, Ramon. And we talk about them a lot, so we feel like we should probably introduce them
Yeah.
too, because when we say that randomly, yes, they are our wife. So if
Right.
I call her the hot chick is my wife, or the hot chick at the gym, or
Yeah.
anything like that, it's usually my wife that I've made up.
Right.
We also call her boss.
Yep, boss.
Yeah. And Justine is not Justine; she's the best.
The best.
So you
Steve.
may hear us say the best, and that means Justine is the best Steen. Anyway, okay, yeah.
Alrighty. So wanted to get into Matt's brain a little bit about self-development,
Sure.
maybe success, and for those who know Matt on a personal level or somewhat of a personal level, maybe just in his business life, you know that he's done some amazing things and he will continue to do amazing things, but
That's right.
he's humble enough to never have the book be closed on what he does and how he does it.
Oh, for sure.
And I've experienced that even before I was working with him. He was a coach of mine and I was in life insurance, and he still was like, hey, what are you, doing for your business and to help you grow? And, what do you want? And goals, stuff that if you're an entrepreneur or in this type of field where you are trying to grow and you're
Yeah.
not just a worker, which is nothing wrong with that. But if you have the desire to advance or to have something that you have your name on or you're growing, then that's the kind of advice that I received from Matt and received from others and received from books and podcasts and stuff like that, just like
Yeah.
this. So hopefully if you're listening and you're going to get something from Matt's brain,
There we go.
and there's a lot of knowledge in there.
Yeah, and I think one of the things, everything all at once, it made me think of a story as we were talking about this before the episode started. Was my son Mikey? He had learned to drive. He's my oldest son, so he's the first one I ever had to really teach, and the responsibility of dad to teach to drive, right? And I remember he was doing pretty good. He had been through driver's education, but he's still stubborn a little bit. And I remember we were coming back from Austin once, and I'm letting him drive, and we get up onto the freeway, and it's his first time to really go on the freeway without an instructor in the car, and nobody else has the brake, right? It's him fully driving.
Scary.
Yeah, it's scary. And so we're driving along, and he's going really slow. I was like, Mikey, I love you, man, but you gotta hit the gas pedal. We can't go 35 on 35. That's not what that means, right? And so he has to speed up too. I think it was like 65 or something like that is what I was telling him. So he speeds up, and it's like, oh wait, Mikey, you're veering over into the other lane. And then so he looks up and he starts slowing down again. It's like, no, you still got to go the same speed. And then so now he's kind of veering off into the other lane. I'm like, Mikey, just try to keep it in the middle. And then now he's trying to keep it in the middle, and he's getting really close to the car in front of him. Like, hey, Mikey, so you got to make sure you maintain your speed, but you can't hit other cars. And so he's like slows down, but maybe too much. And I'm like, okay, you got to stay in there. He's, Dad, I can't do all of this at the same time. I'm like, no, you're driving. You have to be able to do all of it at the same time. And I think that what he was trying to do was have perfection at speed.
Yeah.
And so he's only looking at speed. And then he was having perfection at in the lines, and then perfection at not hitting the cars. But it's like, that's the thing that I think we do sometimes is we get so caught up in one of the things that's important that the rest of them start to fall apart, and you don't need to be perfect at any of it. but you also have to do all of it at the same time, right?
Right. Yeah.
And so I think that to me, if you talk about what is the key to success, it's balancing all of those things at the same time without the expectation of perfection so that you can move forward.
No. Yeah. That's I like that.
Yeah. So you got to do it all, but don't worry so much about all of it. Just you just got to move without being so afraid of messing up. You're going to mess up, but keep moving forward.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah. Don't be afraid of making a mistake.
Yeah,
Or
yeah.
I mean, I gave some advice. I did a presentation yesterday on CapCut, the
Yeah.
video editing, and one of the pieces of advice I gave everyone, which it seems that people who are in their own business or a sole proprietor or whatnot, when they need to do marketing, a lot of people are shy, camera shy.
Sure.
And I said, you got to put your face on camera. And if you stutter, if you say a word incorrectly or your accent makes it sound off, like it's fine.
Yeah.
Just continue to do it, because if you don't, it's gonna, it's gonna hinder you. Like the driving example. If you don't look at the car in front of you, okay, it's gonna hurt you.
Right.
Right. But you have to do, as a business person or somebody working for yourself, growing something, you have to do everything.
Yeah.
Until you get to
Point where you
certain levels.
don't. Yeah, and we have this saying: if you don't know who the maid is, you're the maid.
Yeah.
Right. You can't sit back and wait for the maid to show up. No, you take the trash out. You sweep the floors, right? And people talk about that sometimes. I talk to some other leaders who are waiting for somebody to come help them. And it's
Yeah.
like, well, I have to do all this at the same time. You don't have to do it all, Matt. And I'm like, right, I have an Alicia now and an
Yeah.
Andrew now and a Gracie now, but I didn't have that. And so as you're doing everything all at once and you get better and better at balancing it, then you bring in the ones that can make sure you slow down before you hit the next car. Like Alicia is definitely the one that keeps us moving forward, but not too fast,
Oh yeah.
and keeps us from hitting the bumpers, right? And I'm like the one trying to hit the pedal, right? Andrew makes sure that everybody's aware of where we are and what we're doing, so it keeps us in the lanes. You know what I mean? So it's like we definitely have a lot of help now. Gracie
Yeah.
runs everything. You know what I mean? It's like
I would change mine to I'm the one, make sure there's music playing.
right. You're the DJ in
Yeah,
the car.
exactly.
The distraction is the music. Anyway, no. But yeah, it's one of those things. But until that point, I didn't do as well for sure. Like I couldn't do as much
Yeah.
business as we do now without everybody. But until I was, there's a point, a tipping point where you have to go, okay, I'm going to make the investment to hire the people to do the thing, but you have to be a little bit dangerous and a little bit bold,
Yep.
and you have to be willing to make those sacrifices. But you have to, back to hope, you have to have the hope in your own future to
Right.
take on the task of managing, hiring, firing. Like it is not easy, and
Yeah.
when you decide to bring somebody on, it doesn't make life easier, right? Like maybe
Yeah.
there's a thing that's easier because you have somebody doing the job, but now you got to manage them and make sure they're there. So, I mean, everybody always wants that next thing,
Right.
but they don't understand the trouble of that next thing. And
Right.
anyway, and so as you add people on, it means you still have to do everything all at the same time,
Yeah.
right? And I think it's better to have learned it all step by step, so I know how to help people with it. Like you're way better at marketing and CapCut and all that stuff, but when we talk, I get to have some input on what to do because I did it by myself before.
Right.
And so we still have, like, we like to call Andrew's marketing his chef, like his way of cooking, right? Like
Yeah.
chefs have a certain style.
Mhm.
Like his style isn't like everybody else's style, but it's live and fun and active. And this brings me back to where you were talking about like saying things wrong or stuttering or say
Mhm.
me personally, like my style is I don't like scripts. If I'm watching something and I know it's scripted, I immediately scroll past it because it's perfect and practiced and probably the same thing somebody else has said already, right? But if it's not scripted and they're stuttering a little bit and they're going through it and you can tell them that they're thinking and engaged in what they're saying, that's just I
Yeah.
like that better. But I know people who hate the way that I do things, just
Yeah.
off the cuff. Like,
Yeah.
I mean, I think we may have said this already, but I remember one day, Andrew and Alicia were talking about how they can just give me random things, and they're like, "Hey, relate mortgages to dragons."
Yeah.
And without skipping a beat, I made up a story about mortgages and dragons. And some people think that's entertaining, and some people think
Yeah.
that's Anyway,
Yeah. But yeah, and for those that are listening or watching, like if scripting your content is your thing, don't shy away from it if you're good at it, because
for sure.
Alicia
Oh yeah,
is good at that.
people talk about it all the time. They love her scripting.
But everybody has their style.
Yeah.
Just like Matt was saying, like my cooking style of marketing is not like the next person and they may be successful at that.
Sure.
I mean, that one guy I showed you the video. I don't know if I showed you. Remember you were on Armando's podcast?
Oh yeah, yeah.
Did I show you his recent video where he was like running from the law as a marketing guy?
Yeah.
Did you see it? Oh, I have to show you. It's great. And I like his style. And so, not that I will copy his, but I will get influenced by his.
Yeah.
But I wanted to come back to, since we're kind of like making this a Star Wars thing almost, right?
Oh, yeah. On the fly. Talk about
on the
not
fly.
scripted. Yeah.
With the New Hope, right? People see Matt Kavanaugh and they hear Matt Kavanaugh crew, like, man, I want to be there one day. And not necessarily another mortgage person. It could be a real estate agent or,
Sure.
you know, boutique. But in the same, like, compared to Star Wars, you see Luke Skywalker. Man, he's like the greatest Jedi. But he wasn't the greatest Jedi because he did it all by himself.
Absolutely.
Luke had Obi-Wan Kenobi. He had Yoda.
Yeah.
And I
Chewbacca.
know. Yeah.
Come on.
Sidekicks. But what I'm going towards more is the coaches.
Absolutely.
He had trainers, he had coaches, he had people help him along the way.
Mm-hmm.
And I know that you and Alicia are big on that. And maybe you can speak to that to people who are listening, maybe hesitant.
Yeah, I mean, it's the same thing about investment, right? I mean, the only reason I think people truly don't use coaches is because of maybe the money or the fear of success, which I think both of those things are very real. Like, you make a commitment to spend $600 a month on somebody to tell you what to do,
Right.
when you realize, like, you already know what to do. And I always say, I go back to like health and fitness, and like, you're not supposed to have 8 donuts, right? Like, maybe eat the one or not even the
Or
one,
7.
but you don't have to, right? You don't have to, like, more than you need to know to be healthy and be active and be fit, but you just don't do it.
Mm-hmm.
And so it's taking that same thing and going into business. And like, I'm not challenging whether you know how many calls you need to make and you know what you need to do. The thing about coaches is it's the accountability of it. And sometimes it's new ideas, sometimes it's different things. But really, for me, coaching has always been, I like being a part of a team and I like having leaders.
Yeah.
Because I think if I was a soldier, I wouldn't want to be the one in charge of everything, but I could definitely be a good leader of some people. And so, but if I have someone to follow, it helps me. And I think that the leaders that I know right now, that I have the biggest, I would say not I have, that I see the most turmoil and trouble is when they don't have anybody to answer to or for.
Yeah.
And so they get to just randomly make stuff up and they get to randomly change things. And before we change things, like, we always go to other people and ask advice, and not just advice, like, give them real votes in our business, which they don't have any stake in it, right?
Right.
But we really do take it and make it something that's part of it. Like, I'm not going to randomly stop making videos because I just woke up one morning and heard that somebody else stopped doing videos. So I'm going to stop too, to do what? Make better use of my time. And so cutting things out and adding things randomly because I have nobody who I'm answering to, I think is very, very dangerous. And so as business leaders or leaders of people, a lot of times we don't have to answer to anybody but our client. And our client is whoever we're deciding our client would be, right? And so, yeah, to me, I think it's a very big deal to, if you don't have somebody who is your boss, you need to have somebody who is your coach who can call you out and say, don't do that.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah. Be real with you. It's like your big brother, or big sister.
Yeah.
Like, hey, you're being dumb.
Yeah, for real. And it's almost somebody, it can't just be anybody. It has to be somebody who you respect enough to not want to disappoint.
Yeah.
And I think that's the thing. Every coach that's really made an impact in my life has cared about me enough that I didn't want to disappoint them. And so make sure your coach, like if you're going to hire one based off this, right? Make sure there's somebody who you relate to enough to go, I think I would love to have what they have. And so I respect what they're saying to me and I don't want to disappoint them. And so I'm going to be real with them. And I'm not going to do things based because you can still do whatever you want if you have a coach, right? Like go make 10 phone calls. Okay, I will. And then you just lie to them and say you did because most coaches can't actually track what you did, but they'll see the result. More money, less money. Like they're going to know whether you're succeeding or failing, right? But make sure it's somebody who maybe this is another bit of advice is since you asked me, right? Normally I wouldn't give it this advice, but make sure your coach is somebody who has what you want already. Because I think that something dangerous is, and there's coaches out there right now who are trying to achieve a level of success based off of getting coaching clients versus the successes they've already had. Like they want to be a coach. And so therefore they're saying, let me coach you versus being somebody who has, I want to close 500 deals in the next 5 years. If I want to close I need to find somebody who has at least done 200 deals in a year, right? I can't go to somebody who's read all about how to do mortgage loans and read all about how to get 500 deals and now is advising me based off of what they think they know. What does it feel like to be in the trenches of a 500 loans per year deal? Like how many processors do you need? How many closers? How many marketing people? How much money did you generate? What were the pitfalls? And then I may decide based off that coach, like, never mind. I don't want to do that. But if no one's ever been there before and they're just encouraging me, go get 500, and they don't even know what that feels like. But I know there are coaches out there advertising, use me. I'm your best production. And it doesn't matter what business you're in. I'm like, how? Like, I'm just saying personally, I haven't had a coach that I've had a business coach that wasn't in mortgages before. I've had like fitness coaches that weren't in mortgage. But when I'm hiring a business coach that is supposed to help me with my mortgage business and they don't know how the mortgage business works, it'd be very hard to follow them.
Yeah, I mean, it's just like thinking about, would you follow somebody into battle that has read about battle and they know everything in the book, or they've been through battles before? And that's, I mean, as easy as you can, like, I was going to use Michael Jordan, which I like to use him a lot, but I mean, I think the battle thing is, I mean, it hits a little harder. Like,
for sure,
I'm going to follow this person who's held the position that I want to be in, not they've read about the position that I want to be in.
Yeah. Because, man, it's life or death out there, kind of, right? Like, same thing with the car. Mikey, like, if you hit that car, not just you, everyone in this car could die, right? If you go over, if all those things aren't watched, it's a dangerous game to trust somebody to guide you that doesn't know what they're doing, right?
Yep.
In all the way around. I mean, I don't know an area of my life that I don't want somebody who's coaching me or has more authority. You know, and we're big Jesus people, right?
Yep.
And I think that when my life really changed towards God and it wasn't religion anymore and it was a lifestyle, is when I stopped trying to live life for me and for my happiness and to make sure I was okay. And I started following the box, if you will, because everybody's like, oh, Christians are no fun and they can't do this. Yeah. Like, anyway, I won't tell you my whole life, but I'll tell you, like, I have a lot of fun, right?
Yeah.
But I live within the parameters of what Jesus wants me to do. And I will say, not perfect for sure, but I stay in the fences, if you will. And the when I go outside of his gate is usually when it's the most trouble. When I stay in his gate, I'm free. Free to joy and laugh and fun and love and be mad and be sad. And he helps me center all of that as long as I stay in the gates. Mm-hmm. And so it's funny that you think, oh, I don't want anybody telling me what to do. Freedom is inside the parameters of not being lost.
Totally.
You know?
Yeah. You're not wandering.
Correct. Yeah.
Without any direction.
Yeah. And the neat thing is that sometimes he sends me outside the gates. Like I've been in situations where it's like, well, why were you there? Because that's where Jesus needed me to be, right? Yeah. But it doesn't. It's like that doesn't seem very church-like. Jesus went to a lot of places that weren't very church-like.
For sure.
And so, but unless you're coached, right? Unless I know I'm supposed to go there,
Yep.
if you try to go to a dark place without God as your center, maybe you're not ready yet. Like my dad, right? If anybody who doesn't know, my dad passed away, and he had no legs, right? Very, very sick, and super smart guy. Helped so many people. I remember growing up, he was a lot like me. People would come to me and be like, "Hey, can you fix this? Can you do this?" And my dad he never taught me that you can't. So I've always figured anything someone tells you to do or ask you to do, you can figure out how to do it.
Yeah.
Anyway, so but he passed away with no legs and not able to really think anymore because he just drank himself to death. And he loved Jesus, but he thought his goal was to go into bars and preach who Jesus was at bars as an alcoholic. That is a terrible thing to do. And so you can be like, "Oh, well, I'm going for Jesus." No, you're not.
You're right.
Like that was a good excuse for him, but he would stack up beer cans, and then people would ask him like, "What's with the beer cans?" And he would try to drunkenly tell them who Jesus was, right? And so it's like I go with boldness because I know Jesus actually sent me. But if he didn't send me, I stay in my box. I stay in my fun, loving, laughing, engage with kids and my friends, and oh
Mhm.
my gosh, I love my wife. Like it's all because I stay in where Jesus wants me to be.
Yep.
So Jesus is my coach.
Yeah,
too.
Jesus and other how would I say more seasoned Christians that
Absolutely. Yeah.
have a fun life as well, and you're
Yeah.
get mentored. I can think of a few at the church we go to,
Yeah.
know, along with Pastor G. But
Yeah.
like, I'm thinking, okay, I really take into heart what they're coaching me on or advising me on.
Mhm.
So
There's so many people.
last point before we close out. Speaking of coaches for your business life,
Hmm.
where does someone start? Like, how do you say, okay, this is how I found my first coach, or maybe one of your favorite coaches?
Yeah. So what I would do is whatever industry you're in, maybe even before you find a coach, find somebody who you want to be like that maybe isn't real local. And more than likely, if they're actually successful and they are somebody who you truly want to follow, I would just reach out to them. Like, be bold enough to go, like, I see what you're doing, and I'm in a different town doing a different thing, and I just want to know, like, can I pick your brain for 15 minutes? And I
Yeah.
bet you in that 15 minutes, they're gonna have a coach. And so I wouldn't go out and try to find my own. I always thought like today, if I needed a new mortgage coach, I would look at somebody who's doing more business than me and go, "Hey, who coaches you?" And I would guarantee you if they're doing 300 loans a month, somebody's coaching them.
Yeah.
So I think that's what you do is you follow in somebody else's footstep, even to how they train, how they coach.
Mhm.
Same thing, we talk about basketball, right? So if you go to Michael Jordan, you don't have to go very far to figure
Yeah.
out who his coaches are, right? And then it's spiritual, mental health, like
Yep.
all that stuff. And so that's why more than just the business coach, I would ask somebody who's as successful as you want to be, what are they doing? And I bet the path is to the coaches.
Yeah, that's awesome advice.
Yeah.
All right.
Cool.
Well, we hope this brought you some value.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It was fun. Thank you guys.
Very fun. All right, guys. We'll see you next week.
All right. Bye.
Bye.